Welcome to Plant Superpowers Summit Season 2. I'm Jewel, your host, and today I have a great, amazing speaker with us, Yvonne of Eating for My Life. Yvonne, a refined food addict and overeater in recovery. She is committed to sharing her vulnerable journey as she learned how to sustainably eat surface-free, whole food plant exclusive. Having full knowledge of what it's like to be in pain from the struggle, she aspires to create a supportive space where people who are on similar journeys can find community who can relate, and hope where she has been told far too often there is none. As a single mother diagnosed with mental illness diagnosis, PTSD, generalized anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, and major depressive disorder, she is on a quest to learn how to create a daily eating regimen that sets her up to be the best her she can be. She is an ordinary woman learning every day how to sustainably face extraordinary disorders, diseases, and mental illnesses, and figure out how to thrive in spite of these challenges. Welcome, Yvonne.
Thank you.
Well, this is very impressive, and your story, I just would like to start with the story. Please share with us, how did you end up on this journey?
Well, it's definitely been lifelong. I just celebrated a birthday. I just turned 44, and
Congratulations.
thank
Happy
you,
birthday.
thank you. So I would say it's definitely been lifelong, but if I was to pick out any one particular um, situation in my life, then I would say that it was back in um, 2015 when I first can remember a very vivid overeating and binging experience. And I was in the process of uh, separating from my ex-husband and knowing that a divorce was imminent. And I remember going to a fast food restaurant and ordering about three of a particular combo. It was a double cheeseburger combo. And I sat there in the parking lot and I ate each combo one right after the other, right after the other, just trying to comfort myself. And I also wind up dealing with an over the counter uh, drug addiction at that point, too. So um, that's the point that I would say that is most vivid in my mind of that I can point to say, you know what? That definitely was about overeating. That was about dealing with these substances, salt, oil, sugar, flour, alcohol, because I definitely was using that as well. Um, and so fast forward to 2017. I haven't eaten meat, gosh, it's been about 15 years now. And that was about trying to create a healthier environment for my children in general. Um, so 2017, beginning of 2017, I said, you know what? I'm ready. Dairy is the last obstacle. I'm going to give it up. So end of 2016, I was saying, beginning of 2017, I'm giving up dairy. But it felt so difficult to me. And I remember trying to go go to a different restaurant like the last 7 days of 2016, trying to just get in as much dairy as I could. And that started to aggravate me. So I remember thinking, I need another challenge in addition to the no dairy, so that this no dairy thing won't seem like such a big deal. So the challenge that I came up with was I couldn't eat anything starting the beginning of 2017 that I did not fix myself from scratch. I only made it 11 days. So January the 11th was the day that I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I need to go and get some chips from 7-Eleven. Needless to say, I forgot all about the dairy. The dairy didn't seem like such a big deal anymore. What I realized when I challenged myself with that, making everything from scratch, and I paid attention to how I felt in those 11 days. I felt like I was going out of my mind because I couldn't get my fix. And so day 11, January the 11th of 2017, I realized I need to pay attention to this. I need to pay attention. What is this? Why do I feel like this if I'm not eating processed food? So I started researching and digging around on the internet. I had already been in those first 11 days digging around on the internet, just looking for different types of recipes, because I had actually never even cooked from scratch before until the beginning of 2017, outside of very, very simple things. But before the beginning of 2017, I told myself that I couldn't cook. I had convinced myself of that. So as a mother, a single mother, I fed my children out of bags, boxes, frozen, and fast food spots. That's how I fed my children, in cans. So during those first 11 days, I was already looking and trying to figure out what would I fix myself. And basically I was just trying to fix myself the things that I wanted, that I normally would get from a fast food place, any type of processed food. But once January the 11th came and I, started eating processed again, I was particularly interested in why was I feeling like this? So I started doing my research. And as I dug deeper into the whole of unprocessed foods online, I started finding out all sorts of phenomenal information. And I started learning about satiety index. And I started learning about the pleasure trap. And I started learning about calorie density. And I started learning about how our brains are actually hardwired to want the highest caloric density food in our environment. And so then that gave me information regarding fault and whose fault is this, and what's refined food addiction, and is that something that I battle? And just continue to research and come across these various different professionals in this industry of unprocessed and plant-based. And from there, I just started applying what I was learning. And I dropped basically all the weight that I've dropped now.
And how much did you weigh before?
About 175.
Okay. And now?
So back at the beginning of 2017, that was about what I weighed. I weighed about 175, 174, something like that. And I dropped 50 pounds. It's the same amount of time that I did this year, within 5 months, a little less. And so this year, again, I started on January the 6th at 174 pounds. And as of right now, I've dropped 53 pounds. I'm dropping weight every week. It continues to happen. So now I weigh 121. But back in 2017, like I said, I did all of this, but I was experimenting and I was learning, and I hadn't made any kind of commitment to myself. I was just overjoyed and amazed because I had not considered that I would ever be this size again, which is pretty much the size that I was when I graduated from high school. So I was overjoyed and I was distracted, and then all sorts of family trauma happened as the year wore on, and that's when one of the best things happened to me. I was admitted into the hospital, into a psychiatric care program. And that's when I was finally diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression and generalized anxiety disorder and PTSD. And that's when I started understanding myself more. And I started putting the refined food addiction portion with how I had been dealing with these various symptoms of these diagnoses that I have been experiencing for a very, very long time, well over 20 years. And so from latter part of 2017, when I was diagnosed and attended that hospitalization, it was a partial hospitalization, I just continued to do more research and observe, but also learn how to adjust to life with this new information and these new diagnoses, and gained all the weight that I dropped back. So latter part of last year, 2018, I just started feeling like I had a lot more information, but also life had started evening out for me. And I am very happy to have found a young lady named Chef AJ in all my research in 2017. And so in 2018 is when I went ahead and joined her group and, purchased her program. And that community in and of itself, UWL community, and her and all these other awesome people in the community, how supportive they are. I just continue to participate and watch, even if I didn't necessarily post anything. I was being strengthened by just continuing to listen and read their various, tips on how they have been successfully able to sustainably eat salt, oil, flour, alcohol, sugar-free, whole food, plant exclusive, not base. And so the end of 2018, that's when I just felt more and more ready. And the holidays came and I got in and I cooked all sorts of vegan processed foods. But getting in the kitchen and cooking all of that food, it kind of just like reignited something in me. And it made me just start feeling even more ready. Like, you know what? You started out cooking from scratch, unprocessed. And so beginning of January this year, January the 6th, I just was like, you know what? I'm ready. And this time I'm not experimenting. This time I've been doing my work. I've been studying people who already are doing this and have been doing this for years, including Chef AJ. And I can do this. So here I am.
So now you committed.
Oh, yeah.
This is a great story. And throughout the story, you said there were a few times when it was like a yo-yo, so you were still vegan. So what was the challenge? What do you assign the weight gain to in those situations when you lost weight, you already knew you are vegan, you don't eat meat, you ditch the dairy. So what do you attribute to that weight gain again?
Allowing myself to become distracted, and consuming salt, oil, flour, alcohol, sugar, despite not meat or dairy or seafood. Consuming salt, oil, flour, alcohol, and sugar causes so much inflammation, causes our cells not to even recognize what's being digested because it's coated in oil. So nutrients not getting what's necessary. Never mind salt, causing bloating and swelling. Sugar, super empty calories, refined sugar, all sorts of empty calories in everything, regardless if it isn't meat or seafood or dairy. If it's processed, it has salt, oil, flour, alcohol, sugar. Then there's going to be weight gain, and there's going to be foggy thinking, and there's going to be low energy, and there's going to be interrupted sleep, and there's going to be, which is my number one why, there's going to be me, who is a refined food addict and overeater in recovery, consistently thinking about getting my next fix. And it's painful, and it doesn't help me in any way, shape, or form. And when it comes to these mental illnesses that I've been diagnosed with, having the type of clarity of thinking that I have now, the type of energy that I have now, it allows me to be able to recognize when these symptoms are starting to rear their ugly heads much better, because my thinking is clearer versus just wanting to get my next fix, thinking about that and missing signs and symptoms. And then next thing you know, I'm having a manic episode, or I'm in a depression episode so serious that I won't leave my house. And my children are suffering, and they've suffered immeasurably over the years from me not having information that I needed. So,
yeah. So I hear that the food addiction is real. And how do you deal with the cravings? Do you still have those cravings?
you know what? Eating leafy greens as my first meal of the day has really, really, really helped a lot with cutting cravings for junk because of the thylakoids that's in the leafy greens. So I'm very grateful to have committed to doing that since January the 6th, and watching with my own eyes the cravings start to decrease. The withdrawal symptoms, they were tough at first, but they were tough at first the last time I did this. But I would say that the leafy greens have certainly helped. Drinking lots and lots and lots of water anytime I even remotely think I'm having any sort of withdrawal symptoms or cravings has really, really, really helped. Having compassion for myself. That is a big one. And remembering that it's not my fault. that my brain is actually hardwired to desire the highest calorie food in my environment. So keeping my environment as clean as I possibly can, even though I live in a home with someone who's my daughter, who doesn't necessarily always eat the way I do. And our household, we don't believe in shaming each other for any of our choices. So shaming her or trying to force her to take things out of the home that I don't eat is not an option. Um, so the last thing is remembering my why, remembering why I want to eat this way, remembering why I'm choosing to eat this way, because it is a choice. Every bite is a choice. Uh, those are the types of things that help me with withdrawal symptoms and cravings. Um, these days, it's more so awareness and recognizing when something is trying to sneak in, like happy memories. That's something that I dealt with a few weeks ago. A happy childhood memory that is food related. And before I knew it, because I wasn't paying as close attention, I started trying to make a plant version. And I, for the reasons that we're all aware of, which is the addiction, I decided I needed to put salt on it. Even though it tasted great, I convinced myself that I needed to have salt on it. My addict brain said that's a part of the memory. So sprinkle a little bit on there. And gratefully, as soon as I started eating it, I just could feel my brain just, like, yes, thank you so much. This is what we're looking for, because that's what addict brain does. That's what the reptilian brain does, the lower brain does. It's always looking to figure out how to convince us to go and get these excitotoxins. But I caught it. I paid attention. I was aware. Okay, no. And then I just, asked my daughter, please put the salt somewhere. I didn't even realize all this time from January up until a few weeks ago when this happened, you couldn't have told me that my main issue was salt. You couldn't have told me that, or that was an issue for me at all. But surprise, surprise. So.
Yeah, wow. Thank you so much for sharing all this with us, because you're definitely not alone. And there are a lot of people, me including sometimes, that going through the same struggles. And you mentioned that your environment is not 100% clean. And Chef AG does talk about the importance of clean environment. So I wonder if you have any tips how you, especially you, since you have such a strong addiction, food addiction, how do you manage to avoid those things in the environment that is not 100% clean?
Well, you know what? I'm grateful that I have such a great relationship with my daughter. That's really, really important, I've been finding, because I love her, she loves me. And she knows that I'm most interested in seeing her succeed in general. And gratefully, she feels the same way about me. So she respects that I don't try to force her to do things or take things out of our environment that she's still eating. As a result, because she does respect that, she's happy to do things like keep certain things in her room. If it doesn't necessarily need to be in the refrigerator, she's happy to do that. She's happy to keep certain trigger things out of my sight. Things that do need to be in the refrigerator, she's happy for me to tuck them away out of my sight. She's happy to do that for me. Even like with what happened with the salt. She was happy to take the salt and go put it somewhere, hide it, so that I now no longer know where it's at. She helps me, you know, she's happy to help me, and she hears me, which is really important, because she does love me and she does respect me. She can hear me when I'm talking to her and saying, oh, I don't really want to smell that. That's a lot for me today. Do you mind if you go eat that in your room? Um, she helps me, you know?
That's great. I hear that having a great relationship with people who you live with
Yeah,
is very important.
it
Enrolling
is.
them into your vision
Yeah,
and let them be your ally.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. And we're each other's allies. So gratefully it's natural, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, you talked about how compassion for self is the key. So how do you work on that? And
Um,
go ahead.
I'm just always working to remind myself, because I know that my brain is hardwired to desire the highest caloric density food in my environment. Keeping that information at the forefront of my mind assists me in being able to combat one of the biggest issues in society, which is people attempting to try and make this our fault versus understanding that, or having the information that our brains are hardwired to want the highest caloric density foods in our environment. And the engineers at these different food manufacturing companies know this information. And not only do they know it, they're purposefully hired to manufacture and engineer food that keeps us addicted with these substances in them. When I have information like that, it's very easy to have compassion for myself, because I know, okay, these are agendas. One is my brain. You know, my brain has this agenda. It's addict brain, reptilian brain, lower brain. Like, there's this is already in place. So it becomes a lot easier for me to remind myself of this information, and for me to remember that I'm a human being. And just like any other human being, I'm taking this one bite at a time, one meal at a time, one day at a time. There's no such thing as perfection. Uh, like any other human being, there are going to be trials, there are going to be errors, there are going to be missteps, and it's all okay, because this is my journey. I get to make this look any way I want. I'm not in any sort of competition or anything. This is about learning how to sustainably eat like this for the rest of my life. So I'm just going to take it one bite at a time and I'm good. And also, um, I have had the misfortune too many times of isolating myself. Addiction thrives in isolation, and so does mental illnesses in general. Depression, PTSD, bipolar, anxiety, all those things do. And I've had the misfortune of isolating myself so many times over the years, and seeing the consequences of that is scary, it's painful. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in that. So,
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so vulnerable. I hear you. I really hear you. That what you said is beautiful. Addiction thrives in
it
isolations.
does.
And
So
yeah,
compassion for myself is mandatory. It's not even an option. I have to have it, because I'm not isolating myself anymore. So throw perfection out the window.
would you say that community plays a
Oh my
big
gosh.
role in?
Definitely. 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 Like I said, that group that I've been in with Chef AJ, as well as many other phenomenal groups that I found on Facebook, Get to the Root, Well Your World, uh, yeah, definitely. It makes a really big difference to be able to interact with people that can relate to what you're dealing with and not try to blame you and say it's your fault. So, yeah, it makes a big difference.
Have you seen a difference in your in mental health when you are eating whole food, plant-based
Yeah.
versus junk food?
Absolutely. My clarity of thinking, that's the number one thing, has improved so dramatically with me eating salt, oil, flour, alcohol, sugar free, whole food, plant exclusively. It has improved so much. So, as I was saying before, this improvement, coupled with the great energy that I have and the good sleep that I get, and so many other things, and just how good I feel in general, it allows me to be able to recognize symptoms when they pop up much quicker and to be able to act to head off negative things happening as a result. It doesn't mean that the symptoms don't still come sometimes from these various mental illnesses that I've been diagnosed with, but it certainly gives me a leg up on being able to recognize them quicker. Or even if I don't recognize an episode until after it happens, or trigger until after it happens, I'm able to recognize quicker that it happened and then process and figure out what do I need to do in regards to self-care, which I have dramatically picked up since I started eating like this, in order to, balance myself out and even things out better, to take care of myself. And one of the things that I have been noticing is that eating like this uh, is treating yourself so well. And it's like a really awesome way of self-care. And so if I'm doing this already, if I'm willing to give myself this type of self-care in regards to how I'm eating, then that transfers over also to who I'm allowing myself to be around, what I'm listening to, who I'm watching, what I'm watching. Uh, it transfers to all of that because I'm not just going to treat myself well by eating salt, oil, flour, alcohol, sugar-free, whole food, plant exclusive. I'm also going to make sure that my life is peaceful in general. So, yeah, boundaries and not people pleasing.
Mhm. Yeah. What was the hardest for you to quit? Like from salt, oil, sugar, flour, and alcohol. What was the hardest?
Um, Sugar is what I remember each time I've tried. That's what calls my name the loudest. Refined sugar. That's what calls my name the loudest. That's why I was saying I didn't even really think that I, had an issue with salt like that.
So what
Because
do
like
you
most
do?
people,
What do you do now when you crave something sweet? Do you still
first
have
I
those
stop.
cravings?
Oh yeah, they come sometimes. They're a lot less frequently these days, gratefully. But yeah, they still come sometimes, and I expect that, being that I'm 44 years old and have spent a large part of my life consuming salt, oil, sugar, flour, and alcohol, I expect that cravings are going to come, from time to time, and that just is what it is. But basically, when they come these days, immediately stop, analyze. Okay, what is this? Where is it coming from? Grab my water, drink my water, you know? So I have more time to think. Drink a bottle. um, and think about my why, you know? What am I eating like this for again? Why am I choosing to eat like this? Oh yeah, that's right. I don't want to be in pain from my brain continuing to uh, look for a fix. Oh yeah, that's right. I want to be more present with my children. I want to be a better me who's more focused versus being distracted. And have compassion for myself. Understand that withdrawal symptoms and cravings don't mean I'm not a good person. It's just a part, you know?
Speaking to a lot of food addicts and working with a lot of food addicts, I sometimes hear that I always think about food. So, do you have any tips for people who are food addicts to keep themselves away from thinking about food?
So, cleaning your environment as best that you possibly can is first. Um, but also becoming aware that while it may be easier to clean your physical environment, we are consistently being inundated with messages to consume salt, oil, flour, alcohol, sugar, processed foods, refined foods. We're consistently being inundated with those messages, and you don't have to step outside of your front door. It's on our phones, it's on social media. I literally had to go on my Facebook and start like figure out how to even stop ads from coming up, because all these ads come up about all different sorts of food that are triggers for me that I used to love. So that's social media, and then YouTube, and then TV. Gratefully, I've stopped having streaming TV come into our home for well over 8-10 years now. But even with the streaming subscription based services, it doesn't matter. In any kind of show, people are talking about food and they're eating and they have the food in front of them. So we're being inundated with these reminders and these triggers from everywhere. So having information about what our brains are hardwired to do is important. And staying focused, keeping your reminders around you of your why, planning out your time when you leave outside of your house, even when you're in your house, but when you leave outside of your house, planning out your time, staying focused, recognizing that looking even in the direction of these different places probably isn't in your best interest. I call it the focus zone when I'm driving. And I'm just like, especially in the first 3 months of this year, I just straight. And then when I'm making sure that I plan out my trips when I go to the grocery store, so I know exactly what I'm gonna get. I'm in, I'm out, I'm not tarrying. I'm already aware there's going to be all sorts of smells in there from the hot food, and their job is to make money. So just recognizing what you're up against, recognizing that others have done it successfully and are doing it successfully, so you can do it too. And then just taking it one day at a time and having compassion for yourself, because guess what? Sometimes something just might call your name loud enough and you say, I'm going, and you eat it. And so what? Okay. So you got another bite coming because we got to eat. So then what you going to do with the next bite? You know, and just having compassion for yourself and with yourself, like, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You know, that's what helps me.
Could you share what you eat in a day with us?
You know what? Every day is different. I like a lot of variety. Gratefully, I'm in a space now whereas withdrawal symptoms are pretty mute. and cravings are pretty small, or they don't come that often. So gratefully, I'm in a space now where is I eat when my body calls for fuel. And as you already know, we've been dealing with COVID-19 and being quarantined. So being able to do a whole bunch of moving around has not been really possible. So my body's not calling for a lot of fuel. So what I do is I eat when my body calls for fuel. And with such little movement lately, it's just not for much. But what I do like to tell people is that generally what my days look like is about a gallon of water throughout the day. My first meal, whenever it is, being leafy greens, consisting of leafy greens and or vegetables, um, a lot of times together, not necessarily just leafy greens by itself, although I do that a lot, and that really helped me cut the cravings in the first 3 4 months. And then after the leafy greens and veggies, starch. uh that's actually like my days, you know.
And when you say starch, what do you prefer? What kind of starch?
Potatoes. Potatoes, in every different kind of form that a potato can be in or be fixed into being in, or prepared. um yeah, that's my number one favorite. um I am getting into squash and cauliflower, um, eggplant, been working on. I think it's important also for people to know that I hated vegetables. So even up until January when I just started, you couldn't, you wouldn't call me, you wouldn't be able to call me someone who liked vegetables. I ate them because I felt like that if I didn't, it would be all sorts of issues. But it has always been very easy since I've been an adult, because I did eat them as a child. My parents definitely had us eating vegetables, and I actually ate relatively really healthy as a child, which is what I'm returning to actually now. Um, but the difference is nobody's suggesting it or um, saying, here's what you got. uh, the difference is, and it's one of the things that I'm loving the most about this journey this time, is that I want to eat vegetables, and I'm learning and experimenting with different vegetables and becoming acquainted with them, because that has not been the case before now. So I'm still experimenting, I'm exploring.
So when knowing that you are a sugar addict, like that's the biggest addiction you have from all those foods, do you allow yourself some kind of a plant-based dessert or anything that is on the sweeter side, or you knowing that you are addicted to sugar, you staying away from everything that has any sweet in it?
Well, when I first started this journey this time around, I decided that I was going to do something different that I didn't do back in 2017. And that was purposefully not eat fruit at first, but learn to fall in love with savory.
Hmm.
So I did that, I would say, for at least a good 3 weeks, something like that, before I finally um, had some fruit. And then from there, I started adding fruit back in, because I could tell, okay, I can handle this. I can handle fruit. It's not, gonna trigger me. And now I eat fruit pretty much every day. Um, but ripe bananas and baked sweet potatoes. Those are my number one ways if I'm going to uh, sweeten something, make a dessert. Um, that's what I'm using.
Mhm.
Uh, very, very rarely do I use dates. I actually don't use them anymore. Like I was playing around a few months ago with it, but I caught myself recognizing that, I was starting to be triggered and I was just starting to really go for it. And so I realized, you know what? Take it out. So I'm grateful I know someone who is learning to fix this food the way that I eat it. And so even though they eat higher caloric density whole food plants, sulfos free, as well as with some sulfos, sometimes they're vegan. They are making learning how to make sulfos free desserts. And so if I go around them, I might have something that has some dates in it. And I'm feeling better because I'm still choosing not to do it in my own home, not to make it for myself, not to use higher caloric density whole foods uh, in my meals. If it's not ripe bananas or baked sweet potatoes for sweetening or ripe fruits, period, it's not happening. And I've even noticed that initially, oh my gosh, I used to have banana and ice cream a lot when I first started this journey. But I've been noticing like over the last month, I haven't even had any. Um, I, I'm not calling for it. Like my body's not calling for it. And it makes me feel pretty good because it lets me know that savory is my thing.
Mhm.
And or fruit, just raw fruit. And I like that. That feels good. But I
Thank.
did make the last time I had banana and ice cream, I actually made a banana split,
Hmm.
and it was awesome. So fast free, whole food plant banana split.
It's all possible, right? It's all
Yes.
possible.
Oh my gosh. I make so many different types of dishes. There's no I don't feel like I'm lacking anything. I have so much fun and I have such a wide variety of menu options. I enjoy myself. I do. It's fun. I'm always trying to figure out what's next. What am I going to make next? I'm trying to figure out how to do chana masala out of potatoes. Um,
Mm.
so that's next.
Well, thank you so much. It seems like this time you are very committed to this journey, and it even looks easy for you. It like the way you talk about it, it seems like it's not that hard. You are so committed to it.
Well, you know what I like to tell people is that willpower and discipline, they run out quick. So this isn't about that. I don't have a cape. I burnt that back in 2017 after being admitted to the psychiatric um, program. So this is about having information that abstaining from salt, oil, flour, alcohol, and sugar assists in preventing me from being triggered to overeat. And then always looking for a fix and so on and so forth. So for me, this is lifestyle medicine. And that might be why it looks so easy because it's in my mind, it's lifestyle medicine. This is how I'm going to be able to live happier every day. And I like being happy. I like being the best me I can be and being able to enjoy life um, with myself, with my kids, my family, my friends, versus the other uh, option, which is not, it's not pretty. So yeah, I'm choosing happiness.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are coming to the end of this interview, and I would like to ask you to share a few words about the free gift that you are offering to our viewers.
Okay, so the free gift is going to be an e-sheet that I put together called 5 Tips that have helped me in eating sulfite-free whole food plants. Um, that's the gift. It's just information that I have put together from my journey thus far. Not even just since the beginning of this year, but just in general, particularly since 2017, of various tips that have been helping me continue to succeed this time around at eating sulfite-free whole food plants. So
Thank you. Thank you,
thank
Yvonne.
you. Thank you.
It's been a great interview. Thank you for your vulnerability, your honesty, for being so real. It's really inspiring. And I think this interview will inspire a lot of people.
Thank you. I'm happy about that. And I appreciate it. We got this.
We got this.
Yes, we do.